Have you heard of a natural drink that promises to clean your arteries and end dizziness when you stand up? These claims are spreading more and more on social media, but do they really work? In this video, we'll dive deep into this topic. You will understand what plaque is in the arteries, the myths and truths about these home remedies, what really causes discomfort when standing up, which natural ingredients are scientifically proven, and you will discover a popular recipe and, most importantly, which habits really protect your heart. Clear, straightforward, science-based information so you can take care of your health with confidence. Ready? Have you ever heard someone say that their arteries are clogged? This popular expression refers to a real and very serious problem, the formation of fatty plaques on the inner walls of the arteries, a process known as atherosclerosis. Although it develops silently over many years, its consequences can be devastating, such as heart attack, stroke, and even sudden death. But what exactly are these plaques? Why do they form? And what can we do to prevent them or slow down this process? To understand this, we need to dive a little deeper into how our cardiovascular system works and the direct impact our lifestyle habits have on it. Arteries are blood vessels responsible for transporting oxygen-rich blood from the heart to the entire body. When healthy, their inner walls are smooth and flexible, allowing blood to flow freely. However, over time, and especially under the influence of risk factors such as poor diet, physical inactivity, smoking, chronic stress, and diseases such as hypertension and diabetes, these walls can suffer small lesions. That's where it all starts. The body, in an attempt to repair these microscopic lesions, sends defense cells and other substances, including cholesterol. The problem is that this repair process can get out of control. When there is excess LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol circulating in the blood, it tends to deposit in these damaged areas, slowly accumulating. Over the years, these deposits turn into hardened fatty plaques, composed not only of cholesterol, but also of calcium, cellular debris, and scar tissue. This progressive buildup reduces the internal diameter of the arteries, making it more difficult for blood to pass through. It's as if the pipe through which blood flows is getting narrower and narrower. The result is a reduction in blood flow to organs and tissues. If the affected artery is one of those that supply the heart, for example, the individual may develop angina, chest pain, or suffer a heart attack. If it is a cerebral artery, there may be a stroke. What makes this even more worrying is that in most cases, atherosclerosis develops without any apparent symptoms until a serious event occurs. The formation of these plaques is not, as many people think, a sudden process. It starts early, often in childhood or adolescence, and worsens slowly. Initial plaques have been found in adolescents as young as 15 who had risk factors such as obesity, high blood pressure, or a family history of heart disease. This shows us that prevention must start early, with a balanced diet rich in fiber, fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats, such as those found in fish, nuts, and olive oil. But it's not just what we eat that counts. Regular physical activity plays a key role in preventing atherosclerosis, as it helps control weight, lowers blood pressure, improves cholesterol levels, and strengthens the cardiovascular system as a whole. On the other hand, smoking is one of the biggest villains. It directly attacks the artery walls, accelerates plaque formation, and reduces the blood's ability to transport oxygen. Chronic stress, although often underestimated, also contributes significantly as it raises levels of hormones such as cortisol, which in excess promote inflammatory processes and the accumulation of fat in the arteries. Another essential point is cholesterol. It is not in itself an enemy. In fact, it is a vital substance for the functioning of the body. The problem arises when there is an imbalance between good cholesterol, HDL, and bad cholesterol, LDL. HDL removes excess cholesterol from the arteries and transports it back to the liver, where it is processed and eliminated. LDL, on the other hand, when in excess, is deposited in the arteries and promotes the formation of the dreaded plaques. This balance can be monitored through blood tests and adjusted with lifestyle changes, or in some cases with medication prescribed by a doctor. It is also important to understand that atherosclerosis does not only affect the heart. There is a condition called peripheral artery disease, which occurs when plaques form in the arteries of the legs, causing pain when walking, a feeling of tiredness, and in more severe cases, ulcers, and even the risk of amputation. In addition, atherosclerosis can compromise the kidneys, leading to kidney failure, and even vision when it affects the vessels that supply the eyes. For all these reasons, it is essential that each person understands that everyday choices, what they put on their plate, how much they move, how they deal with stress, and whether or not they maintain addictions such as smoking, silently shape the health of their arteries. It is not a matter of waiting for a miracle solution in the form of a detox drink or a natural remedy. These things may offer some complementary benefits, but the real power lies in the consistency of good habits. Taking care of your arteries is, in essence taking care of your life. And since atherosclerosis is often silent, the best treatment is still and always will be conscious prevention. In recent years, especially with the rise of social media and video platforms, we have seen an avalanche of content promising natural and almost miraculous solutions to various health problems. Among the most popular are videos and recipes for homemade drinks that promise to clean arteries, lower cholesterol, and even prevent heart attacks and strokes. They are presented as true natural elixirs, often composed of ingredients such as lemon, garlic, ginger, apple cider vinegar, honey, turmeric, and even baking soda. But to what extent are these claims scientifically based? Would it really be possible to unclog arteries just by regularly consuming a natural drink? Or are we dealing with yet another popular myth? To answer these questions, we need to carefully separate cultural tradition from scientific evidence. First, it is important to understand what is meant by cleaning the arteries. This expression is somewhat simplified and does not correspond to medical reality. The formation of plaque in the arteries, called atherosclerosis, is a complex, chronic, and inflammatory process that involves the accumulation of fat, cholesterol, calcium, and other substances in the walls of blood vessels. This process can take decades to develop, and there is no robust scientific evidence that any single natural substance, drink, or food is capable of removing these plaques directly or quickly. That said, it does not mean that the ingredients in these drinks are useless or harmful. Quite the contrary. Several of these natural compounds have recognized properties such as antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, thermogenic, or vasodilatory action. Garlic, for example, contains allicin, a compound that may help slightly reduce blood pressure and LDL cholesterol. Ginger has anti-inflammatory effects that can benefit circulation. Lemon is rich in vitamin C, which fights free radicals. Apple cider vinegar, when consumed in moderation, can aid in glycemic control and digestion. However, the key point is that these effects are mild, indirect, and do not replace healthy lifestyle habits or medical treatment. The belief that a drink can literally unclog clogged arteries is based more on wishful thinking than evidence. The idea that a simple, accessible, and natural solution can reverse such a serious and complex problem is comforting, especially for those who are afraid of facing medications or medical procedures. However, this idea can be dangerous. People who blindly believe this content may fail to follow essential treatments, such as statin use, blood pressure control, comprehensive dietary changes, or even surgery, putting their lives at risk. Another important aspect is the emotional marketing used in this content. Phrases such as "this recipe saved my life" or "doctors don't want you to know this" appeal to emotion and mistrust, creating a conspiracy scenario in which conventional medicine is treated as the enemy of truth. This type of discourse is extremely harmful as it casts doubt on decades of evidence-based science, research, and clinical practice. It is worth remembering that modern medicine does not dismiss the benefits of natural foods. It simply seeks to integrate them into a realistic and proven care plan. On the other hand, we should not completely dismiss folk wisdom or natural ingredients. Many of these recipes can be complementary to cardiovascular health when incorporated into a healthy lifestyle. A ginger and lemon infusion, for example, can aid digestion, relieve bloating, and even improve mood. A green juice with kale, apple, and mint can provide antioxidants and fiber. The problem is not the drink itself, but the way it is presented as a miracle cure, a standalone solution, or something capable of reversing years of bad habits with just one glass a day. If there is one important truth to be told about cleaning your arteries, it is that this only happens in a meaningful way with a set of consistent and lasting behaviors. This includes quitting smoking, adopting a diet rich in vegetables, whole grains, fish, and good fats, reducing consumption of sugar, fried foods, and ultra-processed foods, exercising regularly, sleeping well, managing stress, and getting routine checkups. In cases where there is high cardiovascular risk, medication may also be necessary, which, unlike natural beverages, has rigorous clinical studies behind its effectiveness. So when you hear promises like, "This drink cleans your arteries in 7 days," or "I never had to take medicine again after that," remember to use common sense and seek reliable sources. Cardiovascular health is a daily and ongoing endeavor. There is no magic formula, but there is the power of information, prevention, and conscious choice. Have you ever gotten up quickly from bed or a chair and for a few seconds felt the world spin, a strange feeling of dizziness, blurred vision, weakness in your legs, or even a slight fainting spell? If so, know that you are not alone. This type of discomfort when standing up is more common than you might think and can have various causes, from the simplest and most harmless to medical conditions that require attention. To understand what is really behind this phenomenon, we need to take a closer look at how our body works, especially the cardiovascular and nervous systems. When we are lying down or sitting for a while, the blood in our body is relatively evenly distributed. When we stand up, gravity causes the blood to flow down to the legs and lower body. In a healthy body, the body reacts instantly to this change in posture. The heart beats a little faster, the blood vessels contract slightly, and the brain continues to receive blood normally. However, when this adaptation mechanism fails, even for a few seconds, the result can be a temporary drop in blood pressure, which reduces the flow of blood and oxygen to the brain. This is what causes the feeling of dizziness or disorientation. This condition is known as orthostatic hypotension, and it is one of the most common causes of discomfort when standing up. Orthostatic hypotension can have several causes. In some people, it occurs only occasionally, for example, after long periods of rest, dehydration, or prolonged fasting. In others, it can become frequent, indicating an underlying problem. Chronic diseases such as diabetes, Parkinson's disease, heart failure, and neurological problems can compromise the body's autonomic reflexes, making it difficult to regulate blood pressure when changing position. The use of certain medications, such as diuretics, high blood pressure medications, antidepressants, or medications for sleep disorders, can also cause this side effect, especially in older adults. Another relevant and often overlooked cause is dehydration. When the body is low on fluids, the volume of circulating blood decreases, which reduces the cardiovascular system's ability to adjust quickly. This is common on very hot days, in people who sweat excessively, engage in intense physical activity without adequate fluid replacement, or consume excessive amounts of alcohol or caffeine, both of which have a diuretic effect. In addition, anemia may also be behind the discomfort when standing up. When hemoglobin levels are low, the blood has less capacity to carry oxygen. The brain, being an organ highly dependent on oxygen, is one of the first to feel the effects. Dizziness, paleness, excessive tiredness, and difficulty concentrating are common signs that something is wrong. We cannot fail to mention hypoglycemia, i.e., a drop in blood sugar levels. This is a common condition in people who take diabetes medication or go long periods without eating. When the brain does not receive enough glucose, dizziness is one of the first symptoms, often accompanied by cold sweats, tremors, and a feeling of faintness. In some cases, dizziness may not be cardiovascular or metabolic in origin, but rather related to problems in the inner ear, which is the organ responsible for balance. Conditions such as labyrinthitis, benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, BPPV, or infections can affect the vestibular system, causing dizziness when changing position. Although these situations cause great discomfort, they are not usually serious and have specific treatments. The emotional aspect cannot be ignored either. Anxiety, panic attacks, and chronic stress can cause intense physical symptoms, including dizziness, impending fainting, tachycardia, and shortness of breath. In these cases, although there is no direct physical problem with the cardiovascular system, the body responds as if it were under threat, activating the fight or flight system, which alters blood pressure and heart rate. This shows how interconnected the mind and body are, and how important it is to look at health holistically. It is important to note that, in most cases, dizziness when standing up is not serious and can be corrected with simple measures, such as standing up more slowly and gradually, staying well hydrated throughout the day, eating a balanced diet, and avoiding standing or sitting for long periods of time. However, if dizziness is frequent, intense, or accompanied by other symptoms such as chest pain, palpitations, blurred vision, or fainting, it is essential to seek medical evaluation. In such cases, tests such as an electrocardiogram, blood pressure monitoring, blood tests, and even neurological tests may be necessary to identify the cause and indicate the appropriate treatment. Finally, it is worth reflecting on the fact that the body always warns us when something is wrong. Simple dizziness when standing up may seem insignificant, but if repeated or ignored, it can be an early sign of something more serious. Paying attention to these small signs is a gesture of self-care and respect for your own health. Amid the growing quest for a healthier lifestyle, it is common to see people turning to nature in search of alternatives to improve their health and prevent disease. In particular, when it comes to cardiovascular health, a topic of increasing concern for individuals of all ages, many natural ingredients are featured in recipes for teas, juices, infusions, and elixirs touted as detox or anti-inflammatory. These are simple, accessible elements, often present in everyday life, but they carry an ancient tradition of medicinal use and, in some cases, increasingly solid scientific backing. But to what extent do these ingredients really help? What are their real benefits? And most importantly, how can they be incorporated consciously and in a balanced way? One of the most revered ingredients is undoubtedly garlic. Used for millennia by different civilizations, from ancient Egypt to traditional Chinese medicine, garlic is known for its medicinal potential. The most studied active compound in garlic is allicin, released when raw garlic is crushed or chopped. This compound has antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties, and according to studies, may help lower blood pressure and LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol. In addition, there is evidence that garlic contributes to improved endothelial function, meaning it promotes the proper functioning of the inner layer of blood vessels, which is crucial for preventing cardiovascular disease. However, to obtain its effects, garlic must be consumed consistently and preferably raw or lightly cooked, as excessive heat can reduce its active properties. Another ingredient worth mentioning is ginger. Known for its distinctive flavor and therapeutic properties, ginger contains substances such as gingerol and shogaol, which have powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. It is widely used to treat nausea, improve digestion, and fight respiratory infections. But what few people know is that ginger can also benefit heart health. Research indicates that it can help reduce triglyceride levels and improve blood circulation, in addition to having a mild anticoagulant effect. This means that it can contribute to the prevention of blood clots, one of the factors that lead to heart attacks and strokes. Lemon, often found in popular flavored waters or detox juices, goes far beyond its refreshing aroma. Rich in vitamin C and antioxidants, lemon strengthens the immune system and fights free radicals, which are linked to cellular aging and silent inflammatory processes that affect the arteries. The natural acidity of lemon also helps to alkalize the body. Although this idea is controversial in science, there is consensus that regular consumption promotes metabolism and improves digestion. When combined with other ingredients such as garlic or ginger, lemon enhances antioxidant effects and aids in the absorption of essential nutrients. Apple cider vinegar is a star in its own right in the world of natural beverages. It is traditionally used as a digestive tonic, but has recently gained ground in discussions about glycemic control and fat metabolism. Acetic acid, the main compound in vinegar, can help reduce blood sugar spikes after meals, which in the long term has positive implications for cardiovascular health. In addition, studies show a slight reduction in body weight and abdominal circumference in people who regularly consume small doses of vinegar diluted in water, reinforcing its reputation as an ally of metabolic health. However, caution should be exercised. Vinegar is acidic and can damage tooth enamel and the stomach if consumed in excess or incorrect. Among natural sweeteners, honey stands out not only for its taste, but also for its therapeutic properties. Rich in phenolic compounds and enzymes, honey has antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and antioxidant properties. In small amounts, it can be an alternative to refined sugar, especially in natural beverages. However, it is essential to remember that although more natural, honey is still a concentrated source of glucose and fructose, and its consumption should be moderate, especially by people with diabetes or insulin resistance. Other ingredients also appear frequently in natural recipes, such as turmeric, rich in curcumin, a powerful natural anti-inflammatory that has shown positive effects on heart health and even in the prevention of neurodegenerative diseases. Curcumin helps reduce inflammatory markers in the blood, which are directly linked to the process of plaque formation in the arteries. To improve its absorption, it is recommended to use it in combination with black pepper, which contains piperine, responsible for significantly increasing the bioavailability of curcumin. The truth is that nature offers a pharmacy rich in beneficial compounds, many of which are still being studied in greater depth by science. But it is essential to understand that none of these ingredients alone can replace medications, reverse existing diseases, or undo harmful habits. They work as adjuvants, as natural allies, within a broader context of healthcare, which includes a balanced diet, exercise, adequate sleep, stress management, and regular medical checkups. Incorporating these ingredients into your routine can be not only healthy, but also enjoyable. A ginger and lemon infusion on cold days, a spoonful of honey with turmeric to soothe your throat, or a tea with garlic and apple cider vinegar when you wake up can become self-care rituals with benefits that go beyond the physical. But the most important thing to remember is that true medicine is consistency. It's not what you do for a week, but what you build day after day that will determine your well-being and the health of your heart. Amidst the flood of videos and posts promising miracles for health, one of the most popular recipes, and repeated far and wide, is the so-called natural drink that cleans the arteries, reduces cholesterol, and combats dizziness and malaise upon waking. This recipe is often presented as a powerful, almost magical homemade formula that combines natural ingredients with supposedly proven properties. Common on natural health channels, this mixture is often composed of lemon, garlic, ginger, apple cider vinegar, and honey, blended or boiled together, resulting in an acidic, aromatic, and strong-tasting liquid. But the question that begs to be asked is, does this drink really work? What does science say about it? And how can we look at this practice with a critical eye without falling into absolute skepticism or blind faith? Let's start by analyzing the recipe itself, using the most common version circulating on videos and social media. The ingredients are 4 cloves of raw minced garlic, juice of 2 lemons, 1 piece of fresh ginger, about 5 cm, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of pure honey, 1 cup of warm water. The preparation consists of blending all the ingredients in a blender until you get a smooth liquid which can be strained or consumed whole. The usual recommendation is to drink it on an empty stomach or before bed for a period of 7 to 30 days. When we look at the ingredients individually, as we saw earlier, it is possible to recognize beneficial properties. Garlic is rich in allicin, with potential cholesterol and blood pressure lowering effects. Ginger, with its bioactive compounds such as gingerol, has anti-inflammatory and mild vasodilator action. Lemon, rich in vitamin C, acts as a natural antioxidant and improves the absorption of iron and other nutrients. Apple cider vinegar, with acetic acid, can have a positive impact on glycemic control and digestion. And honey, in addition to naturally sweetening, contains phenolic compounds with immunomodulatory effects. Therefore, there is no doubt that together, this drink combines functional ingredients. The problem arises when this combination is promoted as a miracle cure or substitute for medical treatments. No quality scientific study claims that this drink, as advertised, has the power to clean arteries, that is, to dissolve fatty plaques formed by atherosclerosis. The formation of these plaques is a slow, inflammatory, and multifactorial process involving the accumulation of oxidized cholesterol in the inner walls of the arteries, with the participation of immune system cells, calcium, and scar tissue. Once formed, these plaques can only be stabilized and controlled with profound lifestyle changes and, in many cases, medication. There is no substance, natural or synthetic, that by itself unclogs arteries. However, this does not invalidate the potential of the drink as a complementary part of a healthy lifestyle. When consumed in moderation, it can contribute to improved circulation with a mild anti-inflammatory effect and even help with digestion and morning energy. People who report improvement in symptoms such as dizziness when standing up or feeling heavy after meals are often actually experiencing the indirect effects of hydration, improved digestion, slight alkalization of the body, or slight vasodilation caused by some of these ingredients. This shows that what we call a benefit is often not linked to a single factor, but to a set of positive chain reactions. It is also important to highlight the issue of expectation and the placebo effect. The simple act of adopting a morning self-care ritual already activates positive neurochemical mechanisms in the brain. When drinking this beverage with intention, mindfulness, and motivation to feel better, many people report feeling more energetic and well-being. This should not be dismissed as an illusion, but it also should not be confused with physiological healing or reversal of serious arterial diseases. Another point worth noting is the risk of excessive or inappropriate use. Apple cider vinegar, for example, in excess, can irritate the stomach and cause reflux. Raw garlic, when consumed in large quantities, can cause gastrointestinal disorders and even allergic reactions in sensitive people. Ginger, due to its mild anticoagulant action, should be used with caution by those taking blood-thinning medications such as aspirin or warfarin. Even lemon, in frequent contact with tooth enamel, can cause tooth erosion. Therefore, even though it is natural, it should be used in moderation and with awareness. The best way to enjoy the benefits of this or other natural beverages is to see them as part of a larger self-care plan, rather than as shortcuts to quick results. Combining them with a diet rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, olive oil, fish, and seeds, exercising regularly, quitting smoking, reducing chronic stress, and getting enough sleep is the safest and most sustainable way to protect cardiovascular health. In this context, natural beverages can be a wonderful complement, a health ritual, rather than an illusory promise of a cure. Taking care of your heart goes far beyond avoiding fatty foods or getting checkups every now and then. Cardiovascular health is a direct reflection of how we live, feel, and relate to our bodies and the world around us. Every choice we make, from what we eat to what we think, from how much we sleep to how we react to stress, silently but profoundly affects the well-being of our arteries, our blood, and our heart. In a time marked by haste, sedentary lifestyles, extreme diets, and excessive consumption of information and stress, taking care of your heart becomes a revolutionary and deeply conscious act. It's about living better, with more presence, balance, and purpose. The first and most powerful habit we can cultivate to protect our cardiovascular system is a balanced diet based on real foods. It's not about fads or restrictive diets, but a return to simplicity. The famous Mediterranean diet, for example, is consistently cited in studies as one of the most beneficial for heart health. It prioritizes fresh foods such as fruits, vegetables, legumes, whole grains, nuts, extra virgin olive oil, and omega-3 rich fish. This combination offers a powerful antioxidant boost, rich in fiber, vitamins, minerals, and healthy fats that reduce inflammation, stabilize cholesterol levels, control blood pressure, and protect arteries from plaque buildup. At the same time, it is essential to minimize consumption of ultra-processed foods, which are high in trans fats, refined sugar, sodium, and chemical additives. Soda, processed meats, filled cookies, margarine, fast food, and processed foods not only sabotage your health efforts, but also accelerate silent inflammatory processes in the body. Replacing them with real food, made at home with natural ingredients, is a powerful act of self-care. The second pillar of cardiovascular health is regular physical activity. The heart is a muscle, and like all muscles, it needs to be stimulated to stay strong and efficient. Exercise improves circulation, reduces bad cholesterol, increases good cholesterol, helps control blood sugar, lowers blood pressure, and releases endorphins, which combat stress and promote well-being. You don't have to become an athlete or spend hours at the gym. 30 minutes of brisk walking a day 5 times a week makes a huge difference. Dancing, cycling, swimming, yoga, or even gardening, it all counts as long as there is movement, consistency, and enjoyment in the activity. Another essential and often neglected habit is quality sleep. Sleeping well is like giving your body the opportunity to restore its systems, repair tissues, balance hormones, and renew energy. Chronic sleep deprivation increases levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and is directly associated with an increased risk of hypertension, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. Sleeping between 7 and 9 hours a night in a dark, quiet, and cozy environment is one of the invisible pillars of health. And quantity is not enough. The quality of sleep also matters. It is during deep sleep that the heart slows down and regenerates. Speaking of stress, it is one of the great silent enemies of the heart. Chronic stress, whether caused by overwork, family problems, financial pressures, or emotional imbalance, increases the release of adrenaline and cortisol in the body. When these hormones are at high levels for long periods of time, they cause an increase in heart rate, contraction of blood vessels, and high blood pressure. Over time, this overloads the heart and promotes the formation of plaque in the arteries. Learning to deal with stress is as important as any medication. Conscious breathing techniques, meditation, mindfulness, contact with nature, and practices such as yoga or Tai Chi are valuable tools that can be incorporated into daily life with direct and proven benefits for the heart. We also cannot fail to mention giving up harmful habits such as smoking and excessive alcohol consumption. Smoking is perhaps one of the worst things you can do to your cardiovascular system. Cigarettes damage the artery walls, increase the risk of blood clots, reduce the level of oxygen in the blood, and accelerate the process of atherosclerosis. Quitting smoking is one of the most important and effective decisions you can make to protect your heart, and the benefits begin to appear within the first 24 hours without cigarettes. As for alcohol, it should be consumed in moderation and with awareness. In small amounts, certain types of beverages, such as red wine, may even offer antioxidants such as resveratrol. However, excessive alcohol consumption increases blood pressure, damages the liver, affects sleep, and can be a significant risk factor for heart disease. Last but not least is regular medical monitoring. Even with good habits, it is essential to have periodic checkups, especially after age 40 or if there is a family history of heart disease. Monitoring blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, body mass index, and undergoing routine clinical evaluations are preventive measures that can detect changes early and prevent future complications. Preventive medicine saves lives and should go hand in hand with natural wisdom and everyday care. Taking care of your heart is, above all, a commitment to life. It is an act of self-love that manifests itself in every choice we make every day. It is not about perfection, but consistency. There is no need to be radical, but rather to build a routine with more awareness, less excess, more movement, more nature, and more connection with your body and mind. When we cultivate healthy habits in a gentle, consistent, and sustainable way, we not only prevent disease, but we also live with more energy, more joy, and more presence. And the heart, that organ that beats tirelessly to keep us alive, thanks us silently but powerfully.